Hi, people. I want you to think about something. I want you to think about the fact that you're out there and you're saying because Trump has had COVID, that he better understands it. Stop. Right there. No, he does not. When he got COVID, first of all, he got treatments that no other American citizen is going to be allowed. I mean, he barely showed any symptoms, and all stops were brought out on him. How many of you people know friends, even since Trump has had COVID, even since Trump has had COVID, how many of your friends that you know or people you know who have caught COVID on the day they showed symptoms, they were rushed in to the hospital and given this great cocktail Trump was given? I can tell you how many I know. Right now, at this moment, one is got COVID and she isn't rushed. Two has got COVID, the cough and everything. He isn't rushed. No, they're sent home to monitor their own symptoms. And this is how many of them die. They're given the test, they're sent home, they're told monitor your symptoms. They're not doctors, they're not nurses, they do not know what they're doing, but they're made to monitor their own symptoms. Now, how many times have you guys had symptoms of something and didn't realize it until it got really bad? And by the time it got really bad, you were in trouble. And that's what the average American person gets. Trump, however, gets tested positive for COVID. He's monitored every minute of the day to see if he's running a fever, to see what his oxygen is, before he even notices his oxygen count going down. They know it. And they fill them full of these drugs and these counteractive things that are normally saved for those who are in the most severe cases. So no, Trump don't understand it until he has to suffer it the way every citizen out there is suffering it. Not the rich ones or the president who can afford to have round-the-clock monitoring by certified nurses with all the equipment they need to see their oxygen count, to see what's going on. You people need to think about it. Now, other thing is, so I want you to stop and think. I want you to stop and think way back to the Bush administration. Do you remember SARS? There was that virus coming from China called SARS. How much of America did SARS cause a problem for? We got it here, just didn't spread like COVID. Why is that? Now, the swine flu, or H1N1, that came here, but we didn't close down for it. Why is that? Could it be because most of the cases that came here for swine flu came in across the southern border, okay? You weren't going to stop that. You just were not going to stop that. No more than we stopped it from going to Canada, okay? You just weren't going to do it. But because of testing and contract tracing, we kept it under control. The same thing with H1N1. It didn't get as bad as it would have gotten if we wouldn't have been monitoring it the way we did. And on top of that, when swine flu, SARS, and let's face it, even Ebola. I mean, you didn't see that spreading across America unchecked. It was checked. It was tested for. It was made sure that it was kept under control. We didn't have to shut down. We didn't have hundreds of thousands of people infected with it. We didn't have that. Why? Because international flights were redirected to places where the people who were on those flights could properly be tested before they were allowed to go into the general community. Now you guys are going, but China, but Trump shut the border to China. No, not really. No, he didn't. He shut the border from China for general travel to America. But there were 40,000 people. 40,000 of them. Think about how many. I mean, that's bigger than my town. Think about where all they could have gone in America. And they came to America. Not one of them was tested before they came off the plane. Not one of them was quarantined after they came off the plane. Not one single solitary one of those 40,000 people from all over the United States of America, from Hawaii to Alaska to California to Florida to New York to Iowa to Minnesota to Texas, 40,000 people. 40,000 people came to America from China, some of them from Wuhan, where the epicenter was. They came into America without being tested, without being quarantined. Now, since then, what has happened? Somebody gets COVID, they test positive for it, and I can guarantee you right now, they do not do tracing. They do not trace back on that person's other contacts. They do not find out where that person has been. They do not test the people they have come in contact with. They don't. Now, the only reason why the hospital knows that I was in contact with somebody that had COVID was because I called them after my friend called me and told me she tested positive. Now, if my friend wouldn't have called me and told me she tested positive, as a responsible citizen would do, how would have I ever known I was exposed to it? I wouldn't have. Now, if I got it and I was asymptomatic and I was doing like a lot of you people out there are doing, walking around without a mask, how many people do you think I would infect? Now, I'm not a social butterfly, so luckily I more than likely wouldn't infect anybody. But if I was like most of these people in town, I'd be going down to the Progo and infecting people there. I would be going over to the other gas station we have over here and infecting people there. I would have been going to my local store and infecting people there and not realizing it. Because I was asymptomatic. I had no symptoms. Or maybe I had a small headache. And I didn't take the virus seriously. I see it every day right outside my window. Everybody walking around greeting each other, getting 2 feet, or less away from each other, talking to each other, hugging each other, whatever. I see it every day. And there are so many people out there that could be asymptomatic that it's not even funny. Mostly the people around here who get regularly tested are those in a nursing home. Now, if somebody in the nursing home, if a nurse or something in a nursing home tests positive for COVID, they are under no obligation whatsoever to contact family members or friends they have come in contact with to tell them they have COVID. None. Because our country does not have a plan. Yes, other countries are having problems with the COVID, but they're not having half as many deaths. They're not having quite as much problems. I mean, 12 million people in a town in China, and 12 people get COVID, and they're testing every single solitary person in that town and contact tracing them so that they know who to quarantine, so that they don't have to shut down the whole country. That's the smart way to deal with it. But they're not. School children should be tested just as regularly as nurses in the front line. Nurses around here get tested twice a week. School children should be tested the same way. And if a parent sends a child to school knowing their child has COVID or has been exposed to COVID, there should be consequences for that. We would get a handle on this and get our states opened up a lot quicker. And we would get them opened a lot quicker if people out there would just wear their mask. But they're running around and acting like a bunch of 2-year-olds. And that's what you're acting like. I heard a Trump supporter on TV straight up say that if Trump told them to wear a mask, they would wear a mask. How ridiculous is that? Can you please tell me, how ridiculous is that? I think that's the most ridiculous thing anybody should say. The only reason why a person should not wear a mask is if the science says you shouldn't. But the science does not say that. And some guy, whatever the heck his name is, that my son talked about, let's see, what was his name? My son talks about, uh, is ridiculous. I mean, he does not know Kurt Vonnegut. Not a doctor in infectious diseases. What the heck is he going to know that Dr. Fauci does not? Dr. Fauci has been a doctor, that one of the head people of infectious diseases for 30 years or more. Now, this man has dedicated his whole life to studying infectious diseases. Now, this Kurt Vonnegut is probably some herbal doctor or something. And yes, herbs can do you some good to help boost your immune system, to maybe help you get through COVID. But it is not going to stop you from contracting COVID, nor is it going to stop you from spreading COVID. It is not a vaccine. Neither is what Trump took. It is not a vaccine. And it has already been proven that people who have had COVID 3 months later have caught COVID again, and often a different strain. And some of them, a worse strain. There's like 2 different strains at least that I know of. One of them isn't so bad. The second one has a higher chance of killing you. The one has a possibility of killing you, but not as high of a chance as the second one. So you really want to take that chance. Family of 6 gets COVID. They don't realize they have COVID until one of their family members dies. By then, they have been in contact with 20 other family members who contracted COVID, who were also in contact with other friends out there who contracted COVID because of one asymptomatic person. They lost a loved one and made a whole lot of other people sick. One. That's all it took. One. To spread to over 20 people. And those 20 people did not know they had it until that other family tested positive. And by then, it was too late. And 2 of the people had no symptoms whatsoever. Wait, no. One had absolutely no symptoms, would have never known she had COVID. The other one had a slight headache. But because of the CDC saying this is the symptoms and you don't have to worry about it unless you have these symptoms, they spread it. You need to worry about COVID whether you've got the symptoms or not. You need to act as if you are infected no matter what. If you don't have somebody living in your house, anybody from now on that you come in contact with, you need to be wearing a mask. I should have been on Tuesday when I had to take my cat in to the vet and then ended up having to put her down. But I didn't do it. I knew her boyfriend was sick, but I thought she knew enough to go get him tested. But he refused to get tested. And now she's got it. How many more people do you need to get sick, and how much longer do you want this country shut down? Now, Biden knows how to deal with this stuff. He did during swine flu and during Ebola. Did you see Ebola shut the country down? Did you see a lot of people dying from Ebola? Did you see it running across the country? I think there was like 2 or 3 cases in Texas. Come on. And 2 people who died from it. And that was a deadlier virus than COVID. And because the Obama administration made those people quarantine, they didn't spread it. All it took was to make them quarantine. And they didn't spread it. They died of it, but they didn't spread it. Now, you want to talk about how bad, who handled what. You need to take a closer look at how Trump is handling this. It doesn't need to be this bad. He's chose it that way. He's chose to ignore it. Even now, at the moment that we are having a rise in cases clear across the Midwest, Trump is telling people we're turning the corner. People, pay attention. Just this last month, we had somebody in Sheldon die of COVID. We're turning a corner. It's hitting your neighborhoods. And we're turning a corner. Back in March, it wasn't even here. And now we are part of the area that's having the highest cases. And we're turning a corner? No, we're not. We're not doing any of that. So if you want to open up, you honestly want to open up our country, get your head out of your backside, start caring about yourself and your neighbors, and put that damn mask on. Whenever you're going to be any more than 10 feet close to anyone, or in a enclosed place like a restaurant or a store or a gas station or anywhere, put your damn mask on. And then maybe we can get our country back open. Teach your children. 6-year-olds can understand. 5-year-olds can understand. There's countries out there where there's 5-year-olds that are willing to wear their mask because they understand what it means. There's 2-year-olds willing to do it because they understand what it means. They've got their schools up there set up in a totally different way because they understand what it means. And they're keeping their cases down. And they're keeping their deaths down. But America is doing nothing about it because we're all a hodgepodge. Maybe it's time for these states that can't get it under control to start paying attention to the states that are getting it under control and start doing what they're doing. When it comes to COVID, you are not an island on yourself. When COVID affects you, it affects your whole community. It then affects your whole state. And then it affects the whole country. Look at what happened with the rally from Sturgis. People came back home from there and it spread all over again. Now we got these rallies from Trump where they're not wearing masks. Running around like a bunch of fool-ass idiots without masks on. Even just wearing the masks without the social distancing can do a lot. But they're not doing it. And so cases are rising. Use your head. Decide. Do you want to stay healthy and alive? Do you want your mother, your sick little child, your child who has an ailment that makes them more susceptible to dying from COVID? Do you want them to stay healthy? Do you really care about them? Because if you're running around out there without a mask on, plain and simple, you don't care about them. You really don't. Because if you did, you would put your mask on. Now, I don't care if you don't wear a mask in public. I do, however, care that when you see me with a mask in public, you keep your ass away from me. Because my constitutional right is to be able to wear a mask and not to be exposed to a freaking virus. You want me to respect your constitutional right? Then go somewhere else without your mask. When you see a sign on a store that says masks mandated, put your damn mask on or go somewhere else to shop. Quit hollering about your constitutional rights. Because when your constitutional rights denies somebody else their constitutional rights, I personally say you can shove it. And I'm not talking about whether or not to wear a mask. I'm talking about their constitutional rights on whether or not to stay healthy and live. The mask thing is here nor there when it comes to the constitutional rights. The constitutional rights you are denying people are the constitutional right to stay healthy and to live. And you do not have a right to take that away from another citizen. You don't have that right. But you run around and act like you're God and have the right to say who should live and who should die. Stop it. You're not God. And neither is Trump. Since I was 7 years old, Trump has been nothing but a greedy, selfish, grifter of an idiot who's done nothing but refuse to pay people that he owes money to, that has refused to take care of his company. I mean, think about it, people. He owned a casino. Casinos are set up and rigged against their customers so that they can make money. And Trump lost money in a casino in California. Really? A casino. Think about what you could do with a casino. And Trump run it into the ground. Went bankrupt with it. The only thing Trump has been able to successfully sell is his name. The name his daddy gave him. His Washington properties were going to go bankrupt. What happened? He's president. So Saudi Arabia come in and bailed out his butt. He's always had somebody to bail him out. That's the only reason why he's gotten where he is. But I'm telling you right now, if he got out of that office right now, and everybody he owed money to cashed in their chips right now, you know where he would be? Start looking for orange-faced man on the street pushing a shopping cart because he can't afford rent. That's where he would be. He would be sitting on food stamps. But he's always had somebody bailing him out. And he was having the reputation he deserved. Until he went into The Apprentice. That's the only thing that saved his butt. I never liked The Apprentice because I knew who Trump was. I grew up knowing who Trump was. My first time ever hearing about him, I was 7 years old. I'm 56 years now. That's almost 40 years of knowing who Trump is. Really? You talk about experience. Now let's talk about experience. Okay, Obama was vice president. He got a lot done during his vice presidency. And don't say he didn't. Look it up. Now let's talk about when he was a senator. The only thing he had control over is helping to pass bills, putting his name on bills, making bills. Why don't you look up how many bills he has his name on? There's well over 200. He's one of the top people to have put his name on bills or created a bill to help the people. Has he made mistakes? Show me a senator that hasn't. Please, show me a senator that has not made a mistake. Now, as far as the crime bill goes, you can't put that all on Biden. First of all, it took more than him to vote for it. That's number one. Number two, the problem with that crime bill is the wording of it that allowed the courts and police officers and lawyers to take advantage of it and to use it against minority groups. If they would have changed the wording so that minority groups were treated the same as whites, making mandatory sentences, it wouldn't have been used like that. If somebody got arrested for a joint, the white guy didn't get off with probation or community service. He had to serve his time. But because of the system, a white man was more likely let off with community service and slapped on the hand, while a black man was thrown into jail for 20 years. And that's just the way it went. That had nothing to do with the bill. That had everything to do with the system that was implementing that bill. So don't blame it on the bill. You blame it on the system that was implementing it. Because if the system wasn't the way it is, it would have never happened that way. America at the time was hollering for something to be done about the criminals out there. The Senate and the president did what they could to be able to write a bill, to be able to have stronger laws. The system used them laws against minority groups more than they used them against whites. They let whites get away with far more than minority groups. It's just the way it went. Because the law was not perfect. ACA is not perfect. The question is how do you fix it? How do you fix the problem? If you want to get rid of the ACA, then you're going to get rid of everything good that came with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, there will be no other bill brought in. That'll be the end of it. We will never get another bill passed in. That'll be the end of it. You will never see another bill. And you will be right back the way you were before the ACA or Obamacare was implemented. You will be right back to where you can't own your home anymore because you are so damn bankrupt because of medical bills. And don't say it's not going to happen to you. Can you guarantee today, especially with COVID, can you guarantee today that you are not going to end up with cancer? Can you guarantee today that you're not going to end up with diabetes? Can you guarantee today that you're not going to end up with COPD? Can you guarantee today that you're not going to get COVID and it is not going to scar your lungs, your liver, your heart, your kidneys, or your brain and cause you pre-existing conditions? Can you guarantee this? Can you guarantee today as men that you're not going to get married and have a wife who is in herself considered a pre-existing condition just by her existence? According to insurance companies, she is a pre-existing condition because she has things like menopause, pregnancy, uh, all kinds of different things that are normal with women that need medical treatment that are considered pre-existing conditions. But yet a man is not considered that way. Though a man can get testicular cancer just as easy as a woman can get breast cancer or uterine cancer. But a man isn't treated like a pre-existing condition. Why? A man gets a woman pregnant. That's a pre-existing condition to be able to infect a woman with a pregnancy. Why isn't that treated as a pre-existing condition? So really, our medical system is much like that law for the crimes bill. Our insurance companies are the same way. Unless you pass laws to stop the unfair treatment of some people, these companies and these legal services and law enforcement services are going to use it to their advantage to disadvantage some people. That's just the way they're going to do it. It's always been like that. It's going to always be like that. Trick is you need to make laws to stop it. And the one law we got, you want to get rid of. Because that's what Trump is going to do. That's what Barrett is going to do. That's what Joni Ernst is going to do. That's what King is going to do. They're all the Republicans are working on taking away the one thing that's keeping you out of the poorhouse and from going bankrupt. The one thing. Then on top of it, they're giving the richest people the tax break. You're sitting there saying, oh, Trump's tax break did me so good, blah, 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 blah. Okay, if it did you so good, I want you to take and go back to 2015 taxes. See what your return was on that. See what your deductions were on that. See what your income was on that at that point in time. Now, go up to 2019 and compare it. And see if as a low-income wage worker, you're better off. Now, if you own a home, really take a look at it. Especially if you own more than one. Because Trump took those deductions away from you. Although he gave more deductions to the rich. On top of that tax break he gave them. And their tax break is permanent. Yours, from 2003, it's done with. You're going to be hurting real bad by then. So, yeah. Go ahead. Obama and Biden were so bad. Yeah, they got the worst freaking economy out there. when they went into office and they turned it all around. It started us on a better economy and better jobs. When Obama took office, the jobs rate was at 8%, the unemployment rate. When he left office, it was bouncing between 3 and 4%. How much better than that has Trump done? Not very damn much. He hasn't done good on the economy. Everything that Trump is touting as his is what he has followed through with the Obama administration. And if you would be smart enough to look it up, you would realize I'm telling the truth. Because if Obama did absolutely nothing to straighten out the economy from Bush's recession, we would have went into a depression. And we didn't, did we? Things started looking up. And then Trump got in office, and the day after he got in office, he claimed that the jobs rate was so good because of him. He did not pass an economic bill or a jobs bill until after he was in office for 2 years. 2 whole years. That means for 2 whole years, he was benefiting off of the laws that Obama put in place. So don't give me your crap. Don't give me your crap. Use your brain.